Prohibited Chinese electronics, something after the Bad Labs video that I put out a couple of weeks ago. Some retailers are talking about removing products from certain Chinese companies, and other people are talking about a ham radio ban. But what are the details and what is this really? And are we going to see more of it? I think so, but let's look at this article today. So I ran across a video on YouTube while I was researching this article that I found on Reuters.com. And the video was titled, Ham Radio Crackdown, the Ban That No One Saw Coming. And I think that that's a bit ambiguous. So I find this to be a little bit, well, uninformed is the good word for it. Uninformed. It's a video about a ham radio. Like I said, it's called Ham Radio Crackdown, the ban no one saw coming. And again, I was researching this article that I found through one of my Google News feeds. And this is the article that I found right here. And that's the article that I'm going to share with you today. Now, to be clear, this article never talks about ham radio at all. It never mentions anything about ham radio. It never mentions anything about a ham radio manufacturer. It talks about 3 or 4 different Chinese manufacturers. None of them are ham radio manufacturers, okay? So someone who is talking about tech that they don't know about might mistake one of these retailers for a ham radio manufacturer. I can certainly, I think it's an honest mistake. I don't think there's anything nefarious going on here. I don't think he's trying to deceive anybody. I don't think anyone's trying to deceive anybody, whoever I'm talking about. I'm not talking about anyone specific. Okay, but let's read this article together and let me tell you what I think about it, okay? Major U.S. online retailers remove listings for millions of prohibited Chinese electronics. Okay, now read what that says. Major U.S. online retailers remove listings for millions of prohibited Chinese electronics, okay? So that doesn't say anything to me about the FCC at all. However, the FCC is quoted in this article, okay? Summary, FCC says millions of listings for Chinese electronics online retail website has been removed, okay? FCC says that listings of Chinese electronics has been removed. U.S. telecom regulator has taken a series of steps to crack down on Chinese telecoms, and latest action comes amid rising tension between Washington and Beijing on numerous fronts. And I think that could be likened back to the article that we read here on this channel a couple weeks ago about the crackdown on Chinese-owned test labs that the FCC is trying to do right now to maintain better quality control about what they do and don't put their stamp on. Now, the FCC, regardless of what you think about the FCC, if the FCC's stamp and name and approval are going to go onto a product, then they should absolutely 100% have complete say-so over what their stamp does and does not go onto. Okay, so if they don't want their stamp going onto a product, they shouldn't have to have it there. Okay, so now they can be a little bit restrictive and a little bit overbearing and over-controlling at times, and sometimes they don't do any, sometimes they're very lax and don't do anything. And we're not really talking about any of that today. We're just kind of reading through this article that I found and I wanted to show you guys today. So this was October 10th, which was a week and a half or so ago at the time of this recording. The chair of the FCC, Brennan Carr, which we talked about him in a previous video as well, said in an interview that the items removed are either on a U.S. list of barred equipment or were not authorized by the agency, including items like home security cameras and smartwatches from companies like Huawei. Talked about them before a long time ago. I used to own a 4G hotspot that was made by Huawei. Hangzhou Hikvision, ZTE, and Dahua technology. Now, I'm not familiar with any of these, but if you click on these links that they're linked from here, it takes you to another Reuters page. If you scroll down here and you click on the website, the URL for these companies, like these guys are making like home security cameras. That's what you want. You want China being able to tap into a home security camera that they manufactured and you know, look at your driveway or whatever, or look at the inside of your home, depending on where you put your camera. But if you look at all of these websites basically look the same to me. It looks like the same designer designed all these websites, and they're all kind of like with this floating HTML5 or Flash or whatever. Nobody uses Flash anymore, but whatever the technology is that makes all this hover go around the website. I'm not a web developer. I can't talk about that, but I mean, they kind of all look the same. It's just, I don't know. I find it a little bit suspect that all of these websites are the same. I wonder if it's all the same company. Anyway, Carr said companies are putting new processes in place to prevent future prohibited items as a result of the FCC oversight. We're going to keep up with our efforts, Carr said. Keep our efforts up. The FCC has issued a new national security notice reminding companies prohibited items, including video surveillance equipment. Carr said some of the items could allow China to surveil Americans, disrupt communications networks, and otherwise threaten U.S. national security. Yeah, I mean, if a Chinese company sells you a product through Amazon, through eBay, through wherever, through another retailer, and they can tap into that product and monitor it through some back door that they put in the programming software, then yeah, nobody wants that. That's totally illegitimate. It's something the FCC should crack down on, and I'm 100% for that. But what's this have to do with ham radio? Okay, let's read on. So he goes on here, and I'll put this article link in below. It's not a very long article at all. Okay, you can see this right here, and it talks about Huawei ZTE here again, China Mobile and China Telecom, which again I went to their websites, and these are very similar looking websites also. And China Mobile, it kind of sounds like a DMR, digital mobile radio. I don't know. It's not really, it's talking about all these investors and press release and dividends and financial statements and blah, 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 and stock prices, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know what these people make. I don't know if they make anything at all that would affect you and I. But the part that does affect you and I, right here, if you scroll down and you find this place right here, it says, in March, FCC said it was investigating 9 Chinese companies on the covered list, including Huawei ZTE, we talked about then, as well as Hytera Communications, Dahua, Pacifica Networks, Comnet, China Unicom, Americas, etc. So Hytera is the company that is supposedly making ham radios and are supposedly getting banned, according to some other video that I found. Well, okay, here's the truth of it. Right here. Okay, Hytera does not make ham radios any more than Motorola makes ham radios. You can absolutely 100% use a Hytera on ham radio bands if it covers those bands. There's nothing illegal about that at all. It's completely legitimate. And I know several guys who have a Hytera radio, and they sound good. In fact, I know several Motorola guys who have Hytera radios that claim they sound better than their Motorola radios. About 7 years ago at Dayton Hamvention, Hytera made an appearance on the scene of amateur radio and announced a new AR482G DMR-HT. It was monoband. They actually sent me one. I did a video about it, and I'll link that somewhere in here. And then a year or so after that, they just kind of disappeared. Now, I learned later what that reasoning was. They backed out of the game for some reason. I can't remember what it was right now. But this is the only, as far as I know, this is the only radio made by Hytera for the amateur radio market. So today, and this was, like I said, 7 years ago. Today, they don't make anything for the amateur radio market at all. Again, you can use Hytera. You can use Hytera on amateur radio frequencies. You can totally do that. But this is not a, people think of banned Chinese electronics and they think Baofeng. There's nothing in this article about Baofeng. There's nothing in this article about Anytone, TYT, KYD, Tytera, Kydera, several of these other sounding ones. Hytera is the only two-way radio that's mentioned in this article. Okay, and he talks about these FCC probing if Chinese tech telecom firms seeking to evade restrictions. This is another article here, and he's talking about 9 different companies, and there's no one other than Hytera mentioned in this article as well. Not any of the companies that you and I would recognize as Chinese-made radios that, we might buy on Amazon or see people carrying around at Hamfest or anything like that at all. So, now if we're talking about stuff that's made for amateur radio, specifically for amateur radio, today's video sponsor, I'm proud to announce, is brand new, which is bionopower.com. Bionopower has been in business since 2010 out of Santa Ana, California, and they make lithium iron phosphate batteries in numerous sizes, all targeted for the amateur radio community. Check out bioennopower.com. Link will be in the description below. If you've never used a Bioenno on a POTA outing or in a battery box or even on your RV, I ran a Bioenno on my old RV, the one that was falling apart, which was not the battery's fault. But I ran a 100 amp hour Bioenno on that RV for pretty much the day I bought it until the day I took it to the shop, and they just kept it. But great batteries. Great support of the amateur radio community. Check out the link in the description below. Thanks, Bioenno, for supporting the channel. Pretty much all of these websites I'm clicking on are talking about camera equipment and video surveillance equipment. And I find it interesting that Hytera is mixed in there because they're a two-way radio manufacturer. But you know what? They do other stuff besides just two-way radio also. Whether it's ham radio or commercial radio, Hytera is just a Chinese electronics manufacturing company. So whether or not, I mean, again, there's 5 or 6 different companies listed in this Reuters ad that we're looking at here. And Hytera is the only one that when we look at it, we think, oh, that's a radio manufacturer. And they are, but they likely do other things too, because everybody else talked about here, even that China Mobile one, even that one, when I talked about that one, I never really saw anything on their website that was radio related. So it seems like, and according to this statement that the FCC chairman made, it seems like they're more going after video surveillance equipment from this most recent article. At least that's kind of how I read it, and I'd be interested to see what you guys think about that in the comment section below as well. I don't really think that there's much to this. They might, the FCC, again, I must reiterate the title of this article. There's nothing about a ban at all in this title. It says, major U.S. online retailers remove listings for millions of prohibited Chinese electronics. So the FCC is working to prohibit certain things that they think might contain illegal surveillance measures. And this article specifically is mentioning U.S. online retailers that have chosen to remove listings of those products from their store. It doesn't say anything about Amazon, but you kind of assume that it's talking about Amazon is removing these listings. And if we go over here to Amazon and we search for Hytera, there's a BD502. Okay, this is a UHF only, 400 to 470 megahertz, 48 channel, 4 watt UHF HT for $300 with no screen on it. Just like a Motorola radio, Hytera is very good quality. The Hytera ones, the radios that I have seen and used in the past, which is not very many, okay, but the ones I have seen and used in the past are quite good as far as reception. They have good front-end rejection. They have a good audio, both transmit and receive audio. They are well-made radios. So it kind of surprises me that they're on this list at all. However, they're not ham radios. Okay, they're commercial-grade radios. This one here looks like it's a dual band. 48 channels, 8 pre-programmed channels, no FCC license needed, it says right there. So that tells me the pre-programmed channels are probably somewhere in the MERS or if they're in FRS range, then this radios are radio legal. So I'm not sure what that means. It says frequency is both 136 to 174 and 450 to 470. Okay, so it doesn't even go. It goes 136 to 174 and 450 to 470. So it does not cover, this one does not cover the UHF 70 centimeter amateur radio band. So you can find a few other things. They've got some network radios. You can find a few other things about Hytera on Amazon, but they are not. They're a very good commercial grade radio manufacturer that apparently did something to piss off the FCC. I don't really know what, but they're not ham radios anyway. So all of that to say that I think the big scare of banning Hyteras is, number one, it looks like it's just a scare because they're still listed on Amazon right now, and I don't know what the FCC has said about Hytera, but I didn't really look it up and research it because they're not actually ham radios. When the FCC says something about banning Baofeng, I'll make another video about that. But what do you guys think? Have you heard more on this? Have you seen this article on Reuters? Because again, this is something that came across my news feed, and I like to make videos like this that are talking about FCC and the efforts they keep doing to in theory improve radio communications and radio quality inside of the USA. Have you heard about this? What do you think about it? What do you think should be next? And do you own a hytera radio? Do you own a hytera radio that you currently use on amateur radio bands? Let me know the model number in the comments section below. Love to see what you think about it. Tell me your opinion about the quality of that radio too. If you like this video, then check out these videos over here, which YouTube thinks you want to watch next, and we will catch you next time.